There is a time and a place to stop tracking your calories and your nutrition. So, if you are someone who has been weighing and tracking their food for a while, or you're just someone who's getting into tracking their nutrition now, you may be wondering, do I have to do this forever? Is there an end game to tracking? Or am I gonna be linked to MyFitnessPal for life? If this sounds like you, and this is some of the questions that you've been asking, then this video is for you. Because today I'm gonna break down the 2 methods I implement with my nutrition coaching clients to allow them to transition from tracking and weighing their food to living a life that's free of MyFitnessPal and the food scale. These are critical skills to learn because in order to keep the progress you've made, you need some type of system in place, because otherwise you are very likely to be tracking for a very long time, or even worse, lose all of your progress and end up right back where you started. Let's discuss. What is up, guys? Welcome back to the channel where I'm here to help you build your body, master your nutrition, and do it all by training with a plan. If you are new here, my name is Nick, and today I'm going to be discussing the when and the how of when you should stop tracking your nutrition. If you guys know me and you know what my training and nutrition membership, the work method, is all about, then you know I am a huge fan and advocate of tracking your nutrition. I think it's one of the best ways to achieve any fitness goal, and I use it with almost all of my nutrition coaching clients. But I do think there is a time and a place to stop weighing and tracking everything and move on to other methods. And to jumpstart that, I have a really useful resource that I want to give to you, which is my Stop Tracking Handbook. This is a simple handbook that contains 2 separate guides. The first is how to build the perfect meal, an easy 4-step process you can follow to build a healthy and balanced meal. And the second guide is a mindful eating strategies guide, which teaches you a variety of strategies to becoming a more mindful and intuitive eater. These resources are entirely free and are a great companion resource to what I'm going to talk about today in this video. Head to workmethod.com, stop tracking to download them for free. They're also linked down below in the description of this video. Again, they're free and I hope you find them helpful. So let's get started. When is a good time to stop tracking? I will say, I do think most people should be tracking for at least 3 to 6 months. This will give you a great baseline nutritional knowledge and understanding of what you're consuming that will allow you to then stop tracking in the future, because you have the tools in the tool belt in order to understand what you're eating, how many calories you're eating, what are in the things that you're eating, what are the nutritional breakdown of the things that you're eating. Tracking will teach you those fundamentals, and I think that's why 3 to 6 months of tracking is key. After you have a really good grasp on where your proteins are coming from, where your carbs are coming from, where your fats are coming from, what your serving sizes and portions should look like, then I think it would be a good time to consider stop tracking and moving on to some strategies I want to talk about later in this video. And the strategies that are in the Stop the Tracking Handbook. Another sign that I think might be the right time to stop tracking and move on to another strategy would be after you reach a specific goal and you want to move into a maintenance mode and just maintain your physique, and you don't need to have such precise measurements and targets built into your everyday life. The reason why I love tracking it so much is because it can be so precise that it's a direct path to your goals, and if you follow and stick to the targets, there's tangible feedback that will guide you along the way. But if you've already reached that goal, then we don't need to be so precise about it, and we can drop down to a lower level of accountability. Another reason to consider stop tracking is because you've been doing it a while. It's causing undue stress, causing you too much food focus, or you just may have a personality that it doesn't suit tracking because you become too obsessed over the numbers, or you're trying to hit them perfectly. These are all signs that could potentially lead to disordered eating. And if you find yourself going down that path, I'd highly recommend seeking help and stop tracking immediately. There are other ways to lose weight, maintain your health, get in shape without sacrificing your mental health. So now we know when it would be a good time to stop tracking. How do we go about transitioning from tracking to an alternative method and still maintain our progress and our physique? The first method is probably the most common one and will probably be the most easiest to transition to, especially if you don't have a ton of experience tracking. I call this method the plate portioning method. This is where you use your plate to divide up the different macronutrients by giving a certain portion of your plate a dedicated spot for them. For instance, a common portion ratio is dedicating half your plate to veggies, a quarter of your plate to protein, an eighth of your plate to fruits or starches, and an eighth of your plate to some healthy fats. This allows you to manage the intake of your macronutrients, your protein, carbs, fats, and veggies, anywhere you go at any time without the need for a scale or measuring cups. This method is sometimes used in conjunction with the concept of using your palm to measure different portion sizes. Like where you would use your palm to measure out the portion of protein for yourself, use the size of your fist to measure out a veggie portion. You could use a cupped palm to measure out a carbohydrate serving size, and use your thumb to measure out a fat serving size. This method is really simple and straightforward. Once you've memorized serving sizes based on the size of your hand, things become pretty easy as long as you're eating simple meals and not overcreating the recipes, which is something I don't really recommend doing when transitioning anyways, because it just makes things more complicated. All the specific details and portion sizes and how to measure with your hands are clearly explained in my Stop the Tracking handbook. So make sure you head down to the link below and download that for free. I think it'll help a lot. And the second type of transitioning method that I recommend is what I personally use, and that is what I call the meal by meal method. After having tracked for many years, I know that I eat a certain amount of meals per day, and I know generally how many calories I'm looking to get at each of those meals. So when I move from tracking to not tracking, and I start implementing this method, I keep the number of meals I eat exactly the same per day, because I already know how many ounces of protein I need in each of those meals, and around how many servings of carbs I need at each of those meals, and how much fat I need at each of those meals. I can easily put together a meal without needing to put it into a tracking app and figure out the calories. This method becomes much more effective after you have been tracking for a bit and you have some more experience there, because portion sizes and serving sizes become second nature to you after so long. This method also works really well if you're tracking and you try to standardize the amount of meals you have per day and the actual size of those meals, which I think is a good habit to get into anyways, because it can ingrain proper portion sizes for you. With this method, I still do use a food scale when I have it available to me, because it allows me to stay a little bit more precise versus the hand measuring method. But when I'm on the go, you can always implement the hand measuring method. And because you know what you should aim for calorie-wise at each meal, when you're on the go, it's easy to find a meal that suits your target calorie goal for that meal. To sum up this meal by meal method, number one, select a certain amount of meals per day. Aim for a certain amount of calories at each of those meals, and make the calories equal at each of those meals. This makes things incredibly easy because you can standardize your portion sizes. It's easily adjustable if you go over on one of the meals, because on the next meal, you can either cut the size of the meal in half or skip the meal altogether. For example, if I eat 4 meals per day, breakfast, lunch, dinner, late night snack, all of those meals are exactly the same calorie amount. If I go a little overboard on dinner, I simply skip the last meal of the day, and I can guesstimate that I'm somewhere near my calories for the day. If I miss breakfast, I know I can double up my serving size for dinner, and I'll still be within my calorie window. So by understanding these portion sizes and working meal by meal, we can never really get too far off plan. The caveat here is that both these methods are best when used for maintaining your results after something like tracking or a specific meal prep type approach to attain those goals, which is why I'm such a big fan of tracking when working with clients who have specific body goals. I'd also still recommend keeping a close eye on the scale or body measurements no matter what methods you're using, just to hold yourself accountable and make sure that your estimations aren't out of proportion or things aren't getting out of control. Some of the benefits of giving up tracking are getting more in tune with your hunger and fullness cues, because you aren't relying on a set number or a set target to tell you how much to eat, which at times can cause you to eat maybe more or less than you normally would. Another benefit is less of a food focus throughout the day, which can be really freeing, because For some people, tracking can be a little overwhelming. You're trying to weigh things out, figure out nutrition labels, enter it all into an app, and then it can just cause you to focus on food too much throughout the day, which isn't always a good thing. Not tracking also can allow you to have a little bit more flexibility or variety in your food choices, because a lot of times when we're tracking, we're so focused on hitting our targets, we tend to stick to the same foods because they're simple and easy to track, which is a good thing. The cool thing about building these skills and knowing how to achieve results by tracking is that when you transition to one of these methods and it ever strays you away from your path and you gain weight back or you lose muscle mass, you will always have these tracking and nutritional management tools in your belt that you can always just pull back out when you need them. So nothing is stopping you from getting back to tracking, setting a goal, tracking your nutrition until you reach that goal, and then transitioning back to one of these methods to live a more relaxed lifestyle. If you are someone who has never tracked their nutrition before, or you're somebody who has been tracking for years and is looking for guidance on how to get out of that, those are some of the things that we can work you on at the Worked Method Training and Nutrition Program. If you're interested in learning more about that, head to the link down below and check out our website and some of the results that we've gotten, and can consider giving the 7-day free trial a shot. At the very least, download the free Stop Tracking resource at the link down below and start there. I hope that you guys found this information helpful, and if you enjoyed this video, I highly suggest watching this video where I go through my 5 favorite diet hacks to lose fat. Thank you guys for watching, and I will see you in the next video.